Monaco, Monaco 64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I haven't done a live stream in a while, and I thought I'd do one, and I think this is quite important. I just wanted to talk about what's happening to the Trump administration, to its foreign policy. Trump, we hear that he's anti-globalist, that he's been, he's fighting the globalists, the New World Order. But the more and more I see what's happening, makes me believe that we've kind of been being fooled. So we've got 14 people here. I'll wait a little more. So let's see. Oh, here we go. Here's the chat. I hadn't seen the chat. Hi, Labuk. Nice to see you, Sanjit. Nice to see everyone. I haven't done one of these. Well, I don't know where Billy is, and I shut the door. Hi, John. John Roberts. Silver stackers. Yeah, we are all silver stackers. So yeah, the stock market today as well has been having a tough time. So what about the title of this live stream? Trump Foreign Affairs taken over by PNAC. What's PNAC? Well, it's the Project for the New American Century. Some of you might know that they wrote a paper. It's a think tank. It's a neocon think tank. And they wrote a paper a few years before 9/11, before 2001, where they said that America needed a new event like Pearl Harbor in order to justify America invading all these countries and having more of a militaristic, aggressive stance towards the world. And as some of you probably noticed, I've made a few videos where I talk about Venezuela and what's going on there. And there's a guy called Elliot Abrams who's been it says here on Wikipedia, on January 25th, 2019, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo appointed Abrams as the United States Special Envoy to Venezuela. And who is Elliot Abrams? Well, it's quite easy, you just need to do your research. It says here, additionally, he holds positions on the Committee for Peace and Security in the Gulf, Center for Security Policy and National Secretary Advisory Council, Committee for a Free Lebanon, and the Project for the New American Century. So he is, Elliot Abrams is a neocon. And so is John Bolton, who's the National Security Advisor. And I've gone into the PNAC, Project for the New American Century. I'll give you guys the link for it here. There we go. Guess who is one of the directors for PNAC? PNAC is Project for the New American Century, is short for that. It was dissolved. Let's see. Project for a New American Century. Well, one of the directors is John Bolton. So, and the signatories to the Statement of Principles for PNAC, one of them was Elliot Abrams, Donald Rumsfeld, Paul Wolfowitz, Dan Quayle, Scooter Libby, Daniel Kagan, Steve Forbes, Dick Cheney, Jeb Bush. So what's happened to the Trump administration? I mean, it's amazing. I'm surprised that I don't know what's happening, but I think he's fooled us all. Or, some people will say, oh, they've got something on him, so he's had to hire these people. I'm not sure. Hi, I don't know how to read Arabic. Sorry about that. Nice to see you anyway. Hi, No. Nice to see you here. Dax says, means nothing. Trump is holding them hostage. They follow his instructions or they're fired. But why would be hiring people like that? That's what I don't get. Why doesn't he hire people that are not globalists, that are not going to tell him to invade a foreign country or try to change, sovereign country's regime? I don't understand that. Uh, you know, you could argue that about Obama, but yeah, and one of the things as well. Guess Abrams. Guess he's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations as well, and he's even written something on their blog, on their website, saying that he agrees with what Trump did to renegotiate NAFTA. He changed the name, but basically he's just changed the name. PNAC is the Project for a New American Century, Neil. They're a neoconservative think tank, which Elliot Abrams, who is Donald Trump's envoy now to Venezuela, appointed by Mike Pompeo. PNAC is a neocon think tank. They wrote 2 or 3 years before 9/11, they wrote a paper saying that America needed to flex its muscles more around the world, just like it did after 9/11. And they said America needed some kind of event, a Pearl Harbor-like event. And they wrote that paper a few years before 9/11. What else? Who were signatories to PNAC? Dick Cheney, Jeb Bush, Donald Rumsfeld, Elliot Abrams, the guy who's working for Trump now. It's just amazing. So I just wanted to see what you guys think. Am I, because I'm here in the UK, but from what I see now from Trump's actions, I don't see him any difference from what Obama or Bush Jr. did, or even Clinton did. So is he really going to fight the globalists? It's 2 years more than 2 years now since he's president. We still have the Federal Reserve. We still have Hillary Clinton walking as a free woman. Do you guys remember when people used to chant, "Lock her up, lock her up"? I do. So, hi, Mara, tell us about the bank run in France. Can they bring the bankers' knees down? Do you advise for a campaign to buy gold to expose LIBOR? I think you mean to expose the LBMA and Colmex. Yeah, of course. If let's say if 1 million new people bought physical gold and silver, it would make a big difference. So yeah, whenever you can, you should buy physical gold and silver, because COMEX and the LBMA, I think you mean, not LIBOR, they're just paper markets that control the price of physical gold. Paper markets, it's leveraged 300 or sometimes 500 to 1. Gur he says that almost all-time high in Norway gold and Norwegian krona. Yeah, I've looked as well. In Aussie dollars, we're at near all-time highs. Canadian dollar as well. In British pound, it's still about 100 pounds below the all-time high, or maybe 190 pounds or so. Yeah, like Gur said, just hold on to it. It's not a trading instrument. Hi, Rick. Nice to see you here too. Yeah, I hadn't done a live stream for a while, and the last time I did the live stream, a lot of you told me that you weren't seeing adverts in my videos, and I actually sorted it out. I fixed that. I wasn't putting the setting on correctly, and I hope you guys don't mind that you're now probably seeing more adverts in my videos. But I can tell you that my revenues have gone up, which is not a bad thing, of course. Yeah, KVJQZ XZZ. He buys mining stocks, gold and silver leverage play. Say some. Yeah, it is leverage play, but I highly recommend. I've done a couple videos where I talked about the latest book I've read. I read it last weekend in one weekend. It was such a good book that 500 pages, and it took me 3 days to read. It's called The Mandibles. You need to read that. Besides being a really good book, uh, to find out what could happen to the system, it's also enjoyable, maybe a little bit depressing, but really great book to read. You need to buy dog food. That's right. Yeah, Billy's got to have his food, no matter what. SAC Media says ads are annoying, but understand the funding help, so I do let them play. Well, even if you skip them, I don't mind, because not everyone's going to skip them. You can skip them. There is a setting where I can put ads that you can't skip, but I haven't, because I think that's annoying that people don't have a choice to skip the ad. But I can tell you, yeah, that it's improved a lot, my revenues. Yeah, silver is very undervalued. I agree with you, Chris. David Phillips, can you talk about that market falling over 300 points? Yeah, I saw earlier today that it was down about 300 just before I started doing the video or the live stream. I think it's only fell about 220 today. So we closed here down 220, the Dow. So 7/8%. S&P closed down 1%, and the Nasdaq also closed down 1.2%. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything's changed. I think the rally we've had since after Christmas is just a counter trend rally, and the trend's still lower. So I think we're gonna keep going down. Yeah, the Dow finished down 220. That's right, Neil. Oh, Rick says he found the mandibles translated to Dutch. That's good. Pablo, I didn't listen to Donald Trump's State of the Union address, so I couldn't really be bothered. I saw one clip where he said that socialism is trying to rear its head back in the U.S. And then they showed everyone, a lot of people clapping and going USA, USA, and Bernie Sanders didn't clap, of course. So no, I didn't. Didn't think it was that important to listen to the State of the Union. I know what the State of the Union is. Endless debt. That's what we need. I'm sure he didn't mention the debt in the State of the Union, probably, and the missing 21 trillion and all the rest. The dollar monthly chart is up, is very bearish. Yeah, I've made videos in the last few months about the dollar index. And if you go back to the 70s, early 80s, the dollar index has like a roughly 8-year cycle. So a lot of times it's 7 years or 9. So sometimes it goes up for 7 years, goes down for 8, up for 9, down for 7. And I think we're topped in 2017 at 103.84, the dollar index, and we're now and that took about 9 years from the low in 2008 to 2017, and now, in my opinion, we're on a downward leg until at least 2024 in the dollar. Yeah, Steve Ince says, just read The Mandibles. Young Willing obviously had been researching some very old Monaco 64 YouTube videos. Yeah, it's weird because when I was reading that book, it was like, listening to myself a little bit. And also, old grandman, his great granddad knew what he was talking about as well. Yeah, Trump is a controlled opposition. Of course, it is. I think the only president that I would really, think that things would be turning better for America and for the world. The only guy that I think would fulfill that potential would be Ron Paul. But of course, they wouldn't allow him to become president. I remember when he was running and doing really well and winning primaries, they used to put his name in last place when they reported it. Girl Olgi, thank you for the super chat donation, Norwegian krona. Yeah, you're getting rid of the Norwegian krona. No, I'm just joking because it's making new lows against gold. Girl Olgi says, long time I have donated to you, but there is a little donate. Thanks for good information you share with all of us. Oh, you're welcome, and thank you very much for the 200 Norwegian krona. I think that's about 20 pounds. I'm not sure what the exchange rate is right now. 1 pound is 10 kronas. Gary Evans, good evening, Mary from Bedfordshire. Mary, I invested some fiat into Glint about a year ago, converted to gold. Even though the prices dropped when I checked, my account was up a bit. Yeah, I mean, gold in the last 4 or 5 months has gone up quite a bit in pounds. I guess it depends when you buy it. I've got a Glint card as well. I do have a few ounces in there, but most of the gold that I own is physical. Yeah, and I've spent some of it, but I haven't used my card that much. But it's just nice to know that it's there. Dak says Trump is continually savaged by the deep state, unprecedented. Yeah, maybe that's just a game to keep people thinking that he isn't a deep state. Who knows? Uh, it doesn't explain. I'm not sure. It looks like, or maybe they've got a lot of stuff on him, and he's having to, succumb to them. Maybe they've threatened him. Maybe they threaten him with blackmail because the neocons have taken over his foreign policy, and you can't deny that. One YouTube channel that I recommend that I've been listening to in the last few days is the John Birch Society. I read about the John Birch Society and their stuff years ago, but I hadn't really looked too much into the John Birch Society. But I really recommend their channel. There's a guy there called Thompson. He's written some interesting books. He's got a really real contrarian view of U.S. history. The John Birch Society, by the way, therefore all the principles enshrined in the American Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, therefore small government, individual freedom, free markets, sound money. So I really recommend. They have a website as well. Right here, John Birch Society. Basically, their mission statement is to fight the globalists, the New World Order and collectivists. So I highly recommend John Birch Society website and YouTube channel. They have some great videos. I just listened to an hour video about this alternative view of U.S. history and the Civil War. It's very interesting. Well, that's what that's what, maybe this Mueller thing and the Russian thing is just a distraction, but they've got a lot more, that we don't know about. American military equals freedom. Infowars.com banned information globalists don't want you to see. Yeah. Maybe, yeah, maybe, maybe if Trump wasn't a globalist, he might be fighting, for Infowars to get back on YouTube. Pablo Pina, Mary, you think Juan will gain control from Maduro? You mean Guaido? Juan, is that his first name? I don't even know his first name. Guaido, I guess. I think there will be a civil war if Guaido becomes, takes over, because from what I heard, just prior to he declared himself president, 80% of Venezuelans didn't even know who the guy was. So there you go. You don't like conspiracies. Well, I like the truth. And yeah, I've been called conspiracy theorist a lot of times for looking at things. Dax, yeah, you might say he's a nationalist, but look at his actions. Even NAFTA, he's revised it and he's named it something else, but it's still NAFTA. And Elliot Abrams, who's part of the CFR, has actually said he's happy with what Trump did to NAFTA. So is he really a nationalist? I don't know. You got to look at people's actions. If he was a nationalist and not a globalist, he wouldn't be interfering in Venezuela or in Syria or still in Afghanistan. Why doesn't he leave? David Phillips, I also read that book by Timothy Green. Do you believe the official 190,000 tons ever mined? Would you agree with thinking there's near 4 million tons? I didn't see the part where he says there's 4 million tons. Officially, World Gold Council says it's more like 190,000. So I don't know. 4 million, it's possible. You never know. El Tomo, thank you for the super chat. 5 euros or 187 quadrillion bolivars sounded better than per ounces of gold. Fiat cost average into precious metals. Stay informed and protect yourselves. That's right. Chris Smith, that's a good point, Chris. Trump can be a nationalist as long as he surrounds himself with globalists. That's right. Even the Fed chairman, it was Trump who appointed him. The Secretary of the Treasury, Goldman Sachs. The globalists are still running the United States, I'm sorry to say. And Hillary Clinton still walking free. They're supposed to lock her up. Oh, and what about, his policy towards, that country in the Middle East that's fighting the Palestinians? I would like to be wrong about Trump, when he was running and he was talking about, what he was going to do. He sounded really good. And I thought, this guy's going to win. He's against the globalists. He's saying what all the people in the alternative were saying. We thought, oh, he's like Ron Paul, but no, he's turned out to be a disappointment. You need to, even Ron Paul is saying now, Trump is a neocon. David Phillips, what do you think of Bick's weird theory of gold in the Grand Canyon? No, I think it's fantasy, David Phillips. Adam Anderson, have you heard about the YouTube channel Gematria Effect by Zachary Hubbard? Interesting coding from that. Yeah, I have. I've listened to some of his videos. It's just a little too much. I think some of the stuff is interesting, but he, according to him, even this video I'm making and the date that I'm making on is something to do with gematria and Freemasons, and I've got nothing to do with them. So sometimes it takes it too far. But one other YouTube channel that I've enjoyed lately is what's his name again? I'll remember it. Oh man, he's really good. Let me check here in my subscriptions. Where is it? I can't believe I forgot now. 1 second, guys. I'm just looking for. Well, I forgot now. It's not the X22 report. It's the guy who's got a pi as his symbol, 3.14 pi, but I forgot his name now. He's really good. He does a lot of work with numbers. Lord Humongous, nice to see you here. Greetings to you as well. Yeah, so yeah, Zachary Hubbard, gematria, interesting, but I think sometimes he takes it too far. No, it's not Greg Manorino. I'll remember it. It's I've been watching quite a bit of him, and not Peter Schiff. Let's see the history. My history. Let's have a look. Good point. Let's have a look. Okay, I've got it. Marty Leeds. I really enjoy his. He's only doing live streams now because I think his YouTube channel was blocked. Hi, Andrew. Nice to see you. I was just looking to try to find the YouTube channel that I like, Marty Leeds. No says mash the like button. Thank you, No. Gary Abbott. Were United States notes claims on Treasury and Federal Reserve notes today's dollar claim on Fed in circulation at the same time at about 1960 were U.S. notes? So, well, I think you had U.S. Treasury notes, gold certificates until 1933. And I'm not sure if they had Federal Reserve notes. They probably had them back then as well. And then U.S. Treasury notes or silver certificates, I think they were in circulation until in the early 60s or 1964. I think, when they took all the silver coinage out of circulation. Eugenia Cooney, what do you think? I don't know about Eugenia Cooney, sorry. Yeah, Lee Simmons says, doesn't surprise me about PNAC. Just look at PNAC member Bolton, CFR members Ross and Mnuchin. Yeah, the CFR they're like the U.S. arm of the Royal Institute for International Affairs, or Chatham House. Chatham House is like a Bilderberg, basically. Biancarno, I don't think the Yellow Vest protest is going to end anytime soon. They've kind of taken out of the news. They don't cover it anymore in the media. Even like in the alternative, like We Are Change, he went to Paris a few times, but I haven't seen much coverage. But they're still protesting. RT's still covering it. They protested on Tuesday. And I saw that for the first time since World War II, France has recalled its ambassador to Rome, to Italy, because the one of the deputy prime ministers of Italy took a photo with a yellow vest. So that kind of put the yellow vest back in the in the news. Kevin Johnson, what do you think will happen the day after Brexit? Well, the sun will rise. I don't think it's going to be very different. Maybe the markets will be a bit more volatile. We'll have to see. Oh, I wanted to show you guys. I usually don't buy newspapers, but I saw this and I thought I needed to buy this. And it's from the Daily Mirror. It's a paper I never bought before. But look at that. Mirror shock report. Britain's shame. It's talking about all the homeless people in this country. There you go. And I'm sure, in the US it's the same. I saw an article in Zero Hedge the other day of one of the economists from a brokerage house on Wall Street. He was in San Francisco, and he said it was depressing, all the homeless people. So here we are, trying to interfere in other countries, saying that they're running their countries not well enough. At the same time, we can't even create an environment where we're not like a third world country. I'm not a socialist, but I think the system that we have, the fiat money system, the bailout for the bankers, the financial repression we've had, and the fact that they've had to keep, especially in the UK, the bank's balance sheet well inflated artificially. And what's the biggest asset in the bank's balance sheet in the UK? Well, it's housing assets. So they've kept housing prices artificially high. They've kept rents artificially high, and that's probably part of the reason why we have this homeless problem, not only here in the UK but everywhere else, I would say. Dan Clayton, Trump needs to hurry up and build the wall. Well, it's funny because in the mandibles, actually, the Mexicans were very happy that there was a wall, because a lot of Americans were actually trying to leave the US. So it could actually do the Mexicans a favor, the way America's going. No, I'm Paul. A lot of people in the UK think I'm either Canadian or American. I've been here since 1992. I'm originally from Brazil, but I did study in the States. I guess that's where I got my accent. Maybe living in England has kind of softened it a bit, and that's why it sounds Canadian. I've been to Canada once, and it was from Syracuse, New York. We went on a little boat to an island in the Thousand Islands, and we spent the afternoon there. That's the only time I've been to Canada, on the Thousand Islands. Dan Clayton, long live Trump. Yeah, long live the globalists, because they're in charge of your foreign policy. Wake up, Dan Clayton. U.S. stat, yeah, to the moon. Yeah, Andrew Skelton, I saw that YouTube RT Kaiser report. That was out last week, I think. That yeah, the central banks are buying the most gold, in like 50 years. That's very interesting, and that they're going to buy even more this year. Apparently, they know what's coming. Where am I? Last December, I'm in London, Greater London. Yeah, Brian Carno. Yeah. I think that's probably what it's going to be for. It's a sick joke. I do speak Portuguese, Marie. Yeah. I speak French as well, some Italian, and a bit of German. Flownet, do you miss the beach in Rio? To be honest, I was never really too much of a beach bum. I did sail when I was a little boy in the Bay of Rio, but I was more into golf. I'd rather be at the golf, playing golf, than at the beach. So I don't really miss the beach. Of course, I like swimming in the sea, but it's not the end of the world. Dan says he's in Croydon. Yeah, I'm not too far from Croydon, probably 40 minutes. Welcome back, says last December. So we've got 122 people. Yeah, I hadn't done a live stream for about 3 weeks. Yeah, I've come to the conclusion, I should have come to the conclusion back in 2016. But yeah, silver for life. It doesn't matter who you vote for, And it's not an election, it's a selection. They select the candidates for you. But as I say, the only way, the thing that we need to focus on is to get rid of the Federal Reserve, because as the old Rothschild guy said in the 19th century, give me control of the money supply of a country and I care not who makes the laws. And that's in operation. It's been in operation since 1914 in the US, or 13 if you want to be exact. So that's why we need to keep exposing central banks. These nuts, this thing about the mail in Canada, about the rules. I read, the Canada Post thing, and it says there are conditions. As long as you make a report about what you're shipping, you can still ship it. So I think this is just someone who wanted to grab some clicks, and they put this headline. But I looked into it, and you can still ship gold in Canada. Trump wants to be America's first dictator. I don't think so. I think America's had a dictator for a long time. I guess the bankers are in charge since 1914. So the presidents are just puppets. So I would say the CFR is a lot more in charge of foreign policy than the president. The CFR has been in charge of foreign policy probably for almost 100 years. Yeah, Lord Humongous, that was a good interview, Jim Sinclair. That's why I recommend that book, Our Crowd, by Stephen Birmingham. Let's see, Our Crowd. Stephen Birmingham. Yeah, then because Jim Sinclair, he was born a Seligman, and they're one of the big banking families in the 19th century. And Jim Sinclair said towards the end of the interview, the Fed's a central bank, and its main mission is to enrich my relatives. And by his relatives, he meant you know, all the big German Jewish bankers from New York, Warburg, Goldman Sachs, Kuhn Loeb, Seligman's. They're the people who run the Fed. What's your favorite? What are your favorite books? I've done a lot of I've done book streams. If you look in my channel, live streams about books. I've done videos about books. Recently, one of the books that I read that I really liked was The Mandibles. You need to read that. That's probably one of my favorite books, you know, ever. It would be in the top 3. So it was written in 2016 by Lionel Shriver. Yeah, Lionel Shriver is actually a woman. So she changed her name when she was a teenager because she was a bit of a tomboy. But yeah, I recommend that. And the Fed, yes, Lord Humongous. Sinclair says physical metal will set the price of precious metals. Yeah, that's right. It will eventually, and he thinks, him and Bill Holter think it's going to happen like over a few days. So you know, once it happens, you won't be able to get the metal anymore. So that's why you need to keep accumulating as much as you can, and silver as well. There you go. There's a sovereign. A bit of silver. Let's have a look. So I've got a 10-ounce Kookaburra, Australian. The Australians make nice coins. There you go. And there you go. The Australian coins are minted by the Perth Mint. The Perth Mint has a really interesting history, you know, because Australia, of course, was part of the British Empire. You know, it was a colony until 1901. So actually, the Perth Mint was run, I think, by the Rothschilds, but it was sold off and in the late 60s. Yeah, Robert Kiyosaki. He's got some interesting books. IMF likes Ripple. It most probably go with XRP. Yeah, and what makes me think, you know, Ripple might become a major currency is because of the X. You might think, well, why is that? Because they could have made the symbol RIPP or something, or RIP, but in foreign exchange, you know, gold and silver are XAU and XAG. So I think that could be a hint, you know, XRP. Let's see, I've got some more. I guess what's good to have as well is Swiss Army knives. I love Swiss Army knives, even though I do use them, but I've got quite a few. I probably don't need so many. These are quite nice here in the UK. Yeah, Kevin, I do have some XRP. Not because I'm for the bankers, but if it's going to do well, I might as well take advantage of it. But I've got quite a bit of EOS, as some of you might know. And yes, I know the stories about EOS, a big swear. So, yeah, these are really nice. These are 1-ounce Britannias right here. Very nice. Yeah, very nice silver coins. Very cheap still. Christina Woods, do you hate Trump? No, I actually like Trump. I think he says it like it is. I liked when he was campaigning, what he was saying. But unfortunately, I think his administration has been hijacked by the globalists. I don't know if it's by, it's always been the plan or if it's just happened, so I don't know. But, I think people need to look more towards themselves for their, to try to make their lives better and stop thinking about presidents, prime ministers, congressmen, congresswomen, MPs. And that's why I never vote. I mean, I have a Brazilian passport and an Italian passport. I never vote. I could vote, but I never do because I don't see any point. Yeah, uh, Malpass. He was the chief economist for Bear Stearns. I think Trump is nominating him for the head of the World Bank. That's the other thing as well. If Trump really wanted to make America great again, it would get out of the World Bank, get out of the IMF and the Fed. You know, and it's nowhere close to doing any of that. So it's very disappointing. Get out of NATO. He's always said, "Oh, we don't need NATO," but NATO's still there. Kevin, I think you told me about BAT, British American Tobacco, price earnings ratio 1.5. That's very low. The dividend is quite high and no debt. Christina Woods, I like your hair. I don't have much left, Christina. Yeah, John Miranda. That could be it. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, the U.S. is a corporation. I think it was uh, formed in 1873. I think after the Civil War, United States uh, of America, and it's also all in capitals. Before it used to be these United States, right? The United States, in capital. That's a corporate, title. Thanks, Christina. Yeah, Wilbur Ross did work for the Rothschild bankers. I mean, and I've listened to David Janda, and David Janda said something that makes sense. Uh, you're bound to come up, to have people that have worked somewhere, but and I did give him the benefit of the doubt. But until after he hired John Bolton and now Elliot Abrams, it's kind of disappointing, really. But we'll have to see what happens in Venezuela. My feeling is that Venezuela, Maduro is going to hold on, and it's going to be a big loss for America. And if he doesn't hold on, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be like Libya. I think Venezuela is going to completely disintegrate, and it could be bad for America because you could get all these Venezuelan refugees, or down to South America as well. So, who is your favorite? Who what? Well, who is your favorite president? I don't know. I mean, difficult to say. Um, Chester Arthur. No, I don't know. I don't know who's. I mean, since for the last 120 years, I would say I think Ronald Reagan was good, but and he was going to do the right things, but they shot him, right away, and I think they scared him off. So he would have been a good president, Ronald Reagan. I think Taft was a good president. He was an isolationist, William Howard Taft. But I don't really have a favorite, really. Can't think of. It's probably the ones that are, FDR definitely isn't a favorite. He started all this welfare spending, the New Deal. Ron Paul would be my favorite president, but that's not in the cards, unfortunately. Last December's favorite president is Kim Jong-un. It's funny how Trump will, negotiate with Kim Jong-un, but he won't renegotiate with Maduro. That's the other thing that I don't understand. That Kim Jong-un, he's, there's a dictator. His family has been running the country for 70 years. Maduro at least gets elected. The people in North Korea are like much worse off than North Korea. They killed an American, student there, but he will talk to Kim Jong-un, but he won't talk to Maduro. It doesn't make sense. He doesn't, Kirsten, if he's working for the corporation. And maybe that's why they picked him, because he's gone through bankruptcy. His companies have gone through bankruptcy many times. Lord Humongous, what you're saying about John Bolton, I thought about that the other day, actually. I agree with you. Yeah, there's no oil in North Korea, that's right. Maduro doesn't have nukes, that's right. Okay, Dax still seems to think that Trump is going to save the day. You could be right, Dax. So, all presidents are CEO. Low blood spur. Went to my local Wells Fargo. Took a while to take my fiat out. Looks like a mini bank run. Kirsten Strand. People are unaware of the corporation business. Yeah. The other thing as well, in the UK, apparently, if you look at, I forgot exactly where, but all the MPs in the House of Commons, they're all registered as companies as well. So there you go. We are not under common law in the UK nor in the US anymore. I think that's what the Civil War did. It turned America into a maritime rule, corporate rule from common law. And the UK is the same thing. We're not under common law anymore. That's why we got so many rules and regulations that they're able to pass, and the income tax, VAT. BBC guys all getting paid offshore. Yeah, Lord Humongous, I agree. He should have won, but they wouldn't allow him to win. D. Richardson, I agree with you. I made a video, I think it was yesterday, yesterday, about this, that, Venezuela's got almost, they've got certified reserves of almost 300 billion barrels of crude oil. And they're also in a strategic place. They're near the Panama Canal, near Central America. If some of you might know that China runs the Panama Canal now, a Chinese company, and China and Venezuela, Russia have invested a lot of money in Venezuela. But I think the Americans have only the American establishment have only themselves to blame for that, because they've been cutting off and putting sanctions on Venezuela for the last 5 years. So they've had to turn to the Russians and the Chinese. If the Americans had good relations with the Venezuelans, the Russians and the Chinese probably wouldn't be there as much as they are. Patriotin, hi, Patriotin, nice to see you. Yeah, legal is not law. That's right. Yeah, Andrew Skelton knows all about common law in the system that we've got. Andrew is a scholar in that. So I like to thank everyone for showing up for the live stream. I didn't warn anyone. I just felt like talking about Trump's foreign policy. I think it's becoming more and more of a neocon foreign policy. Does that mean that Trump is not a nationalist? I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I don't think it's a good sign that he's hired people like John Bolton, Elliot Abrams, even though he's just hired him to deal with Venezuela. I think it's very important to keep an eye on what's going on in Venezuela. It's really key, I would say. It doesn't look good if America is able to put its man there, Guaido, without any bloodshed. You could see the dollar rally quite a bit. But if Maduro is able to hold on, or if there's like a complete breakdown of Venezuela, like in Libya, yeah, it could be very how can I say, very important for geopolitics around the world. Mara, tell us about the dollar died. Well, that was the Mandibles book. Yeah, it was a great book. I already talked about it in the video, but I'm gonna go now. But I highly recommend that book. You buy that book, The Mandibles. You won't be able to put it down before you you only be able to put it down if, when you have to go to sleep. Uh, Thank you everyone again, and hopefully I'll do another one of these quite soon. Thank you very much. Bye.